Hi, my name is Debbie Gershalendell, and this is a workshop on the college application process, including how it's been altered due to the COVID-19 virus. I've been working in the college admissions field for many years. I was a school guidance counselor in many different districts, a couple of different states. For the last 5 years, I've been working with families going through the college application process. And I want to start this workshop with some good news because I think in 2020 we all need some good news. Since March, when we first shut down, I've been listening to more than 100 different webinars, Zoom meetings, meetings with different professionals, college advisors, college admissions reps, directors of college admissions offices. And let me just sum up what they're all saying. They know that this year has been an unusual year. They get it. They know that this year they're going to get applications that don't look like they normally do. They want you to know that they're understanding, they're not expecting applications this year to look the way you anticipated they would. They recognize that students have lost a great deal. They're looking forward to reviewing the applications differently than they've done in the past. They want you to be happy, they want to accept you, and they want you to be successful. So given that, there's one more piece of good news that I'd like to add. I've been hearing from different families, they're concerned that due to the virus, many students who were supposed to start college now in September of 2020 may have decided to take a gap year or defer college. I've heard questions from parents and students that they're worried that for next year, for fall of 2021, that there might not be enough spaces because so many people might be deferring college. Not the case. Many of the schools that I've been in touch with have been saying, normally we might grant 35 students a gap year. This year maybe we'll grant 40. Maybe we normally grant 25. This year we'll grant 40. So the numbers aren't astronomically high. And this will vary from school to school. It has been put out there that 20% of Harvard's freshman class is not starting this year. However, for the most part, the numbers have not been that tremendous. And something else you need to keep in mind as you're applying to start college in the fall of 2021 is that many international students were not able to return. So that's also going to alter the numbers. So do your best, and hopefully you get into the schools that you're interested in. So how do you find those schools? We're in a unique time where you can't go visit colleges the way you normally would. Something else that has been a positive, an unexpected positive. Before the virus, many college websites, they would usually have the same things on them. There'd be a picture of students sitting outside under a tree in a circle smiling, or there'd be a little videotape of people playing frisbee. Everybody's happy, everyone's having fun, and it tells you nothing about the school specifically. I think since the virus hit and people can't go on tours and make visits, many colleges have added a lot more pertinent, useful information to their websites. Now if you go on the websites, they'll show you this is a video of what the inside of a dorm looks like. This is the inside of the dining room where you'll be eating your meals. So the websites have gotten a lot more informative. Other than the websites, how are you going to find out more about colleges? There are several sites that you can go to that'll give you information. My favorite, College Navigator. That's College Navigator. It's connected to your Naviance account. The reason I like it, it's information that comes from the government. The statistics on there, they can't be hacked by anyone. They're coming from the school itself, and it's got good information, such as what type of SAT, ACT scores does the school normally look for? What is their mid-50th percent range? Are they test optional? What's important to them in the college application program? Where do their students come from? In-state, out-of-state? What are the different programs that they offer? What different sports teams do they have? So there's a lot of great information right there. Where else can you look? YouTube has a zillion different videos for colleges on there. Some might be officially made by the college, some are made by students. You visit, Niche, College Confidential, Campus Reel. There are so many different websites out there that will have information available for you about colleges. Let's say you go to the college website. What exactly do you look for? I like to tell students, start with something fun. Colleges may have 200 to 1,200 different activities and organizations you can join. Go online to the college website, pick one. Go find one club, one activity that you think you'd be interested in. Is it the Night Ski Club at SUNY Albany? Is it the Cheese Club at SUNY Purchase? Is it University of Michigan and University of Wisconsin have clubs for people who want to feed squirrels? One school has a happiness club. They give out hugs and lemonade. What kind of club are you interested in? Start by going online and seeing if you could find a club that you'd like to participate in. After that, try looking at the different majors that they offer. See if there's a major that you would be interested in. But don't just look and see if there's a major in business. What you can do next is go to a few different websites, compare what the requirements are for you to have a major in business. And this is what I mean. Let's say you absolutely hate math, but you're interested in business. One school might have you, for their major, take only one math class. Another school might have you take a major in business, but have to take 2 or 3 math classes. Business analytics, statistics. If you're not interested in math, if you don't want to take a math class, then you'd probably be happier at the first college that is not as math intensive. So it's important to look and see, how do the majors compare to each other school by school? So you're going to find a club, you're going to look at majors that you might be interested in. Don't stop there. Go onto the website and look at the different classes that you are required to take for your major. You can look and read the description of each class so that you know, if you come to this school and you pick this as your major, here are the requirements, and this is what each class is going to involve. It gives you a much deeper idea about what it is that you're getting yourself into. The next thing I tell students to look for, more and more colleges are now creating something called a living learning community. A living learning community is a program for students who have the same interest, where they live together in the dorm and within a couple of floors, and they also may take 1, 2, or 3 classes together first semester. University of Delaware has a living learning community for students interested in going into the health careers: doctors, nurses, physical therapists, physician assistant. They indicate they're interested in this living learning community for those interested in the health career area. And then what happens is they're living together, they may take a couple of classes together, but different schools handle this differently. Some might have activities available for those students in the living learning community. So you're living with people that share an interest with you. You're taking classes with them, and now there might be special activities just for those students. That living learning community at University of Delaware, they have doctors come speak to the students about how to take the MCAT. They might have a neurologist come and talk about new discoveries or the latest trends in medication in that area. Penn State has a living learning community called the Martin Luther King program for students interested in social change. Northeastern has one for students interested in healthy living, where they discuss nutrition and meditation and exercise. You can find living learning communities for almost any area. If you're interested in the arts, business, women and STEM, gender identity, Broadway shows, there's a living learning community for students at Hofstra where they go into New York City to see shows and discuss film and theater. There's a wide range, so check and see what type of themed housing or living learning communities exist at the college you're interested in applying to. It makes sense from the college's point of view. What keeps students happy? Making connections with other students. So now the colleges have figured out a great way to help that happen. So you're going online, you're looking for the club, you're looking at the requirements for the major, you're reading about the classes that you would need to take for that major, you're looking at living learning communities to decide what type of housing program you would want, and then there are probably some statistics that you should check out as well, such as 1, what is the retention rate? Retention rate is the percent of students that return after freshman year. You want this to be very high, somewhere in the 90s. If it's in the 80s or 70s, I would question why are there so many students who start coming here and then don't continue. What percent of students are going to graduate in 4 years? More and more students are taking 5 or even 6 years to graduate. If a school does not have a very high 4-year graduation rate, I would want to know what is contributing to that. Is it that there aren't enough sections of classes? Therefore, students maybe in certain majors have to wait to take a requirement and it delays graduation by a year? I'd wonder about that. I would want to know, where do the students intern? What companies maybe has the university worked with? You can ask the Career Center, what percent of students are employed 6 months or 12 months after they graduate, employed in their field? What percent of students may have gone on to graduate school? What companies recruit at this university? You can find out some of this online, or you might have to reach out to whoever the admissions rep is that handles your area and contact them directly. That's also a great way to start a connection with that person. That person may be the one who's reading your essays. We'll talk about essays in a few minutes. But that would be a great relationship to start. I'm going to talk very briefly about testing. Due to the virus, it's been very difficult to take an SAT or an ACT in the Long Island area, as well as many others. As a result, many colleges have now gone test optional, meaning if you have scores, you could choose to send them, but you do not have to. Know the difference between test optional, where you can send them, and test blind, which is only a few schools right now, but test blind, that's a school that says, don't send them, we don't want to see them, and if you send them, we're not going to consider them. As I said, there's not many schools that are doing that now, but there have been more and more who have gone to test optional. If you'd like a centralized place that will tell you who is now test optional, go to fairtest.org. fairtest.org. They have a pretty current list. The only other two things I'll say about SAT and ACT. If you are looking to superscore your test, more colleges will superscore your ACT. Superscoring is a decision made by the college where they might say, you know what, maybe you've taken the SAT 3 times. We're just going to consider your best math, your best verbal scores, and we'll put them together. And we'll just consider those 2 highest scores. ACT is the one that more colleges will do this for, but you'll need to check with each college individually to see who does this. The other thing that I'm going to say about testing, and this is really more for the juniors, if you are looking for a place to do test prep, you're looking for a place where you can go for tutoring so that you can be well prepared to take this test, check and see if when they want you to take a baseline test, see if their test is an actual ACT or SAT, or if it's one that's been made up by the tutoring center. If it's made up by the tutoring center, my question is, if your score is lower than you would anticipate it being, I would kind of wonder if maybe it's a harder test so that you feel you need more services and you sign up for more. And they're not going to like the fact that I'm saying this, but you might want to question the tutoring center to see if they're using a real test. I'm going to talk briefly about applications and how to do it. Applying early. There is a belief that perhaps due to colleges not meeting their yield this September, meaning they did not have all the students showing up that they anticipated because of the virus, there's a question, a concern, a belief that perhaps more colleges are going to accept more students for next year who apply early. Early applications are usually due November 1st, November 15th. I'm simplifying this a lot just so you know the difference. There's early decision, which is where you usually get one shot. You send it to your first choice college, but what you're telling them is, I don't care about you giving me financial aid. You're my first choice. You're where I want to come. If accepted, this is binding on your part. It's a serious application, serious decision where you're signing something, your parent is signing something, your school guidance counselor is signing something, and you're expected to go there. There's another alternative, which is applying early. Applying early means that this is binding on the school's part. You can apply to as many schools as you want this way. They will get back to you sooner, and then you have choices, and you know sooner than regular decision if you've been accepted. This is something where you're allowed to do it more than once, and there is no harm, no foul if you then choose not to attend that school. So how are you applying? You've probably already started your Common Application account. Common App goes live August 1st. Hopefully by now you've at least filled in the information on there about yourself, your family, education. It's not hard, it's just time consuming. You want to make sure you put the correct information in. They give you a place where you can list 10 activities. Usually the first, second, third, the first few activities that you're listing are the ones that you've been the most involved with. Maybe you started them in 9th or 10th grade. Maybe by now you have some type of role or position. And you work your way down to the ones that have less involvement. In the 9th grade, if you went to Key Club for 1 year, that would go in 10th place. Students don't think about this, but you can also include jobs that you've had and even babysitting. What colleges want to know is, how do you spend your time when you're not in school? Are you babysitting? Are you babysitting even just for siblings? That counts. It counts because it's time that you can't participate in something at school or in your community. So you can include that as well. And details. Put details in. When you're describing what you've done for an activity, there's a big difference between helped volunteer or helped fundraise for Key Club versus called 70 graduates of blank blank high school to solicit donations to purchase textbooks for a startup school in another country. See the difference there? You want to list as many details as you can. I just lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. Okay. So you want to list as much information there as you can, and you want to use action words. You never helped coach younger students or helped teach younger students the routines. You taught them the routines. You coached them for their game. You see the difference? If you're not sure how to answer some of this or how to describe your activities, Google resume action words and you'll get a list of words that you can use when you're describing your activities. Okay, factors to think about when you're applying to colleges. I always hear a lot of students say they want a school with a lot of spirit, a rah-rah school, because they're fun, and they are. But there's some things to think about when considering a school that's got a lot of spirit. Let's say they've got very popular football games. The flip side to having these great football games is, how do you feel about a lot of people coming back, alumni, coming back to see these games? Game day, everything else in the town or at the school might shut down. That might not be a day when you can run in to get a quick cup of coffee and a bagel somewhere, because if all these alumni are coming back, you might be waiting online. Will you attend games? Is this something that would bring you out of your shell or make you want to retreat and stay in your room until the game is over? It's something to consider. Size is also important. If anybody asked me when I was in high school if I wanted to go to a school with 5,000 people or a school with 20,000 people, I would not know what the difference is. If I'm in high school and you're asking me about a college, I have no clue. Here's how I try and describe it. By the time you're a senior, you can walk through the halls of your high school. You probably recognize a lot of faces. You don't say hello to all of them, but at least you recognize them. Maybe you say hello to a lot of other faces. If you like that feeling of familiarity, if that's comfortable, that might be something that you would find at a smaller school. If you prefer the opposite, where you can hang out with a bunch of people, maybe they live at a different campus, maybe you don't see them for a couple of months, and that's okay. That might be what a larger school feels like. Location, I think we all kind of rethought that since this virus has started. How quickly can you get home? How often would you want to come home? I had a friend who went to college very far away because she didn't want to be tempted to want to come home when it was someone's birthday or there was an event going on. So she purposely chose a college that was far enough so that she wouldn't be tempted by that, and coming home frequently wouldn't be an option. Financial aid. I'm going to talk about this real briefly. There's really two things that families need to complete. One is Fafsa. You may have heard that. Free application for federal aid. It opens October 1st. This is something that needs to be done every year. If you are a freshman or if you're going to be a freshman next year, this is how it works. Currently, let's say it's October of 2020. It's October 1st, Fafsa is available. You and your parents will be applying for funds that you're going to use in the fall of 2021. But you're using your taxes from 2019. So there's a little bit of a jet lag there. If, and this is very true given that we are going through this virus where people may have been sick or may have not been able to work, if you do not feel that your 2019 taxes are an accurate reflection of your current financial situation, do your FAFSA, but reach out to the financial aid office at the school where your child is going to go. They may have additional forms. If there's anything that's changed in your family situation since your taxes from 2019 were done, let the school know about it so that they can possibly work with you on your financial package. If you try to do your FAFSA October 1st, the day it opens, the system will be jammed. Give it a couple of days, but don't wait too long. As a freshman applying for 2021, try and make sure that your FAFSA is completed by beginning of December. The other form that you may need to complete is called the Css Profile. Fafsa is for every school. Css Profile is only used by a couple hundred of schools. They're usually very competitive schools. Think of it this way. Fafsa can help figure out what kind of funding you might be able to get, maybe from the school, but usually more often in the form of loans or maybe grants. The Css Profile is for institutional funding, meaning college wants to give you an extra $22,000 a year. The Css Profile might be 35 pages when you print it out, but there's only a few questions on each page. It will take longer, but for that kind of money, it's worth it. Css Profile is going to ask you to predict your earnings and your expenses for the rest of this year and then for all of next year. So whereas FAFSA is looking back, Css Profile is looking ahead. I want to talk about the essays for a couple of minutes. We have 4 minutes left. The biggest concern that I hear from students is they don't know what to write about. They haven't done anything great. They haven't climbed Mount Everest. They haven't cured cancer. They haven't won a marathon. Slow down. The essays are not about you having had to have done something great. Colleges want to get to know a little more about you, something that's not on your application. They want to see how you think, how you feel. I've had many students write about their passions. I love traveling. I love playing chess with my grandfather. I love knitting. I love singing. I'm the girl who walks through the hallways singing opera. I love dogs. I love to foster dogs. I love soccer. I've had many students write about challenges they've gone through. Many people have written about injuries. They hurt themselves. They weren't able to play soccer for a year, or they had to have surgery. They've had to go for physical therapy. They're talking about challenges they've gone through. What did they tell themselves to get through it? What did they learn from that? There have been other things as well that students have gone through that they've written about. I read one this past year from somebody who survived a school shooting, from a boy who got lost in the woods while camping, from a boy who got fired, from a girl who went to weight loss camp. I usually get a lot of essays about people's mothers. For some reason, we're very popular. Here's the difference between an essay you'd write for school and an essay you'd write for college. A school essay could be comparing The Great Gatsby to Julius Caesar. An essay for college has to have something about you in it. Here's what I mean. A couple summers ago, I had 4 students write about their mothers and how they admire them. All their mothers had grown up in another country. They wrote beautiful, gut-wrenching essays about, my mother had to wear the same dress every day. They didn't have clothes. My mother came here and had to be the official translator for the family because she was the only one who went to school. And I said to all these students, if I was a college admissions rep, I would admit your mother. Where are you in this? If you had taken it a step further and said, after hearing about my mother's experiences, it inspired me to want to go to law school and work in international law and fight for the rights of refugees, or move to the border and be a social worker and help those people coming to our country acclimate to being here, or maybe study 3 different languages so I could be an official translator. That would be showing how your mother impacted you. That's the difference between an essay that you would write for school versus an essay that you might write for college. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of questions about why us, why Brown, why NYU, why Tulane. This is how you answer it. You take all the research skills that you have perfected by being in high school. You go online to that website that now has all this helpful information. You dig and you come up with the things I mentioned before. You come up with an activity you'd be interested in. You come up with a program you'd be interested in. You find a major you'd like. You pick a class and you can mention specific classes and how that will help you and why you're interested in it. You could mention that living learning community. You can mention any special program that they've got going on. Maybe as a teacher you're doing observation freshman year. Maybe they have a fantastic program where you're studying architecture and you spend a semester going throughout all of Europe every 3 days, changing towns and changing countries. Whatever it is, you dig on that website until you can come up with your essay as to why us, why that school. We're out of time. I could go on for another hour or two. I wish you the best. Use the resources. One more that I forgot that I have to throw out there. If you've never seen an essay, 2 places you should check. Go online to the Johns Hopkins University website and go to the Connecticut College website. They both post essays students have written who have then been accepted by those colleges. And the admissions officer even posts on the website what it was about the essay that they liked. So hopefully that helps you a little bit seeing what worked for other people, and you can come up with some great ideas. Otherwise, I wish you the best. Good luck.